This is Matt Free 2 Boxing. Delighted to be joined by world champion Natasha Jonas. Natasha, last time we spoke, it was the week of your big fight. Since then, you went on to produce an epic knockout to clinch what was obviously a big dream of yours. How does it feel now walking around world champion?
Just relief, I think. It's okay saying you're good enough, and it's like trying to keep proving it, but you know, having the belt kind of proves your point, and I didn't have that up until that moment, so it was hard to fight my own corner to be like, I know I'm good enough, but once you finally get it, it's like, yeah, I told you I was.
How much pressure did you put on yourself for that fight? Because obviously, with the performances you had against Katie Taylor and obviously Terry Harper, everyone was sort of saying, look, almost like that world champion without the belt. Was that sort of playing on your mind that, look, this has to be the moment. I have to deliver now. There can't be any more what ifs. This has to happen.
Yeah, it was very much last chance saloon. Like literally, you know, I tried at three. It would have been at 3 different weights. There's really no more places for you to go if I would have lost. So, that was on the back of my mind. It wasn't on the forefront because, you know, like, you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself and then you don't perform because you're so anxious and worried. So, you know, nerves gets everybody, but it's how you handle them, which makes it, like, you know, better or detrimental to your performance. And I was lucky for me that it made me better.
I remember, I think you said to me, I think it was the press conference, I think you said something that, I think your daughter said something like, bring the belt home, mummy, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's
just for every time.
That's well, third time's a charm, you know, that's pressure in itself. Have you managed to sort of soak the moment up and enjoy that with your family and things like that? Has that been nice for you?
Yeah, as soon as I'd won that night, I went home. There was my little cousin was moaning because it was her 18th birthday party, and she was like, "Oh, you would be after fight on my birthday, and everyone's going to your fight." And so I took the belt to her party. Everyone was still there, and like I left early hours and went and got me stuff from the hotel in the morning. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice, I think, because, you know, your family are the ones that are there, and they see like the horrible side to boxing. They see, you know, the disappointments when you lose. They see the training that goes into it, all the sacrifices you miss. You know, I missed my cousin's wedding, and I was the maid of honor. I've, you know, there's lots of big family monumentous occasions that I've missed out on, all in the name of boxing.
Mm-hmm. I think everyone talks about the sacrifice. No, a lot of the fans, they don't see that, do they? And obviously the hard nights and, like you mentioned there, the things that you missed. But anyway, now you've got the belt and you've achieved this sort of huge goal in your career. Everyone wants to know what's next. There's talks of fighting Hannah Rankin for a belt. What do you want to do next? Anyway, that's the best question.
Yeah, I think for a long time now, even before our last fight, that, you know, that's a fight that someone suggested. And, you know, she believes she can win. I believe I can win. And we're both at the same weight now. So it makes sense to do that. So, yeah, it's, you know, we've got Ben on the case, and he'll go out and he'll try and make that fight happen. Like I said, it's, you know, it's a fight we both want and we both believe we can win. And I think it'll be a good fight. You know, she's a bona fide super welter. So, you know, it is what it is. I've got to be, you know, strong. I've got to be everything that I was last time and more. She's a champion, so I've got to go out and prove myself at the weight.
Yeah, you're not bothered about weight though, are you? I remember fight week you were saying, I came down, I went up, I basically just told Ben, just give me a weight and I'll go make that weight. Weight not an issue for you. You're not bothered what weight you fight at. You feel comfortable moving up or down?
Yeah, to be honest, like when I made the decisions to go with boxer, I was narrowing my choices down because obviously with Matchroom having a lot of the champions at the other weight, it would have made things difficult anyway. But Ben said, I promise you I'll get you the belt, and I was like, okay. And the package deal was as a package was better. So when he said, I've got, you know, I've got you a shot, I've got your world title, I didn't even, that wasn't even my question. That wasn't even one of the questions. I was just like, okay, who was it? Who is it? I weren't bothered about what weight I was. I was like, who is it? Like, because you can make any weight. obviously the lower weight. I don't think I'd ever make super feather again, and he was aware of that, so I knew it wouldn't have been super feather. Yeah, you can make any weight. You've just got to, your mind's just got to be with you, and the science has got to be with you, and you've got to do everything that you can in the preparation. There was a lot of science in that camp. It wasn't just a case of, eat more and train less. It was, I've got to build myself to be able to physically compete with the girls who are heavier. And I've got to, be able to perform and make my body carry that extra weight that would be more than normal. And yet you're probably not dehydrating as much as you normally would. You're not, cutting out as many calories as you normally would, but it's still got to be in aid of performance. You've still got to be able to perform, so you need to still be putting in the right foods to help you to do that. So it was a different camp, and it was a probably more enjoyable camp. But it was still tough nonetheless, because like I say, you've still got to go out there and perform and hold that weight and make sure that you can do it for 10 rounds, because that's what you've trained for.
That's what I was just going to come on to. Was it more of an enjoyable camp, knowing that you wouldn't have to cut calories? Because a lot of athletes, I'm sure you're the same, I'm sure everyone enjoys the food, and if you're not having to leave so much of it out and you can eat some nicer stuff maybe and fill your body up a bit more, did it feel more comfortable going into fight week, whereas you weren't like cutting that last little bit?
I think the fight week was like unusual in the sense of, normally, like, until you officially get on them scales, you're stressed, or I do. Like, I'm even though I know I'm always going to make weight, I feel like what if I do keep hold of a pound, or you know what I mean? Like, that goes through your head, things like that just run through your mind. And what if this 0.5 in the night doesn't come off? And until you step on them scales, nothing's official. So you're normally stressing about that until if you're fighting on the Saturday, it'll be the Friday. But the whole of fight week, I'd spent, I think, 5 or 6 weeks at that weight. So I knew I wasn't going to be any heavier or any lighter. And at the worst, if I was slightly heavier, like, it was still going to be a lot under. So yeah, instead of worrying about the weight, I must have done maybe 2,000 rounds in my head of fight rounds in my head, and what combinations I was going to throw, how I was going to come out, how I was going to start. I'd done that instead. So by the time the Saturday came, I was literally mentally exhausted, because I'd already like planned out my first 6 rounds on what I was going to do, the combinations I was going to do, and it was mad. It was a nice feeling not to have to worry about the weight, but at the same time, it was in a different perspective, it was like mad, because then I was worrying about the fight.
You mentioned there just you played out some combinations in your head and how the fight went. Now, it was a spectacular finish. Did you quite imagine it going like that? Because it was a brutal finish.
Yeah, not at all. Joe had like made a point of saying, like, all camp, you're not going to knock this. You're not going, because it was Piakowska at first. You're saying you're not going to knock her out. So get that out of your head straight away. Like, you've got this like puncher's disease, he's called it, where you just think you can bang everybody out. He said it's not going to happen. These are a lot bigger, a lot stronger, And then obviously with the change of opponent, she was still very similar in stature.
Big girl.
So he was like, this is 10 hard rounds, and all the camp we'd used Cindy, we'd used I can't remember the other young amateur's name. We'd used everybody, we'd used the fast-paced ones, we'd used the heavier ones, we'd used the long arms, we used literally every version of Namas or Piakowska that could have turned up on the day. We had a version covered. We had their version covered. Covered. So yeah, and even when, like, some of the lads were saying, "Oh, you're punching hard, there's lots of power." He was like, "Don't be telling her that. Don't be telling her that. She's not going to knock her out." And then obviously that happened. I was like, the disrespect to you, Joe. Well, I knew what he was doing. He's doing that obviously because you do get sometimes a bit, not complacent, but you do. You can start to rely on stuff, and you think, okay, it doesn't matter if that round's gone because I've got a big shot. It doesn't matter if that round's gone because I've got a big shot. And it's obviously, a slow start, and maybe hoping to land that big shot had cost me the 2 fights before. So I understand why he was doing it, but yeah, I felt a little bit disrespected.
What did Joe say then straight after the fight? You walked back and just sort of said, I told you I've got power.
No, we just like, he was like, do you know what?
Oh.
Sorry, that was me, my call. Yeah, I was just so relieved, and he was so happy that like we didn't like talk about it until a couple of days later.
Yeah.
But he was like, when I said, Joe, remember you said that? And he was like, you know what it was? Like, I just didn't want you to rely on that big shot, and I want you to get a good start. And I was like, no, I'm only messing, but like, obviously, I knew why he'd said it anyway. Even he doesn't let you underestimate anyone, and I think I have underestimated like an opponent before, and it didn't work out well for me. So, me personally, I would never do that again either. So I'm always, prepared for the best version of everybody.
Someone you mentioned earlier, Ben Shlom, who's done a great job with Boxer since this sort of since they've joined Sky and they've had this partnership. Talk to me about how much he's delivered for you, because I'm sure obviously at this stage of your career when you signed with Boxer and you say they're going to do this, that, and the other, he sort of ticked all the boxes for you, hasn't he, and managed to let you achieve that dream. How good has it been working with Ben?
I think like this is no like disrespect to anyone at Matchroom, because I was well looked after. I was well, I had some of my biggest nights with them. So, but I never felt like I was, the A side or the home fighter. I always felt like I was the opponent. So for that reason, I wanted to be somewhere where, like, I was their fighter.
Yeah.
And Ben's provided that. Like I said, the package that he gave me, it blew every other offer I had out the water. It He promised me a world title within 3 fights. He actually delivered it within 2. So and the relationship that I've got with him, like, like I feel like I can just pick up the phone and phone him.
Yeah.
And we talk about fighters, we talk about other fighters, and we plan. I plan it with Ben where I'm going to go and how I'm going to do it, and he goes out and gets it done. He always will consult me and what he thinks. He was like, even when he came, he said, I've got you the belt. And then obviously later on when we discussed the weights and that stuff, he said, is it too big? Because he wanted me to win. He's like, is it too big? Because like we want you to win it. And I was like, no, it's not. And I'll definitely do it. And so like we've got a good relationship, good working relationship. So yeah, I'm just happy where I am.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've got the added bonus of being a Sky pundit as well with that package, and
Yeah.
it's just it's set me off. I'm one of them fighters that nearing the end of my career more than at the middle of the start. So it's good to see that there is an option B if there's ever needed. So not many other fighters have that get out, I suppose.
I was gonna come on to that sort of further down the interview and just speak about that, because you get a lot of good feedback online in relation to like your punditry and your analytical side of boxing. How much do you enjoy that side of it, being outside the ring and being on Sky and talking about a fight, not just being in the ring? Do you get it's never going to be the same buzz, but do you get like a bit of a kick doing that as well? Is that something you enjoy?
Yeah, I think you at the big the big fight nights that you're not in, you're still involved with, and like every boxer's their own biggest critic. So for me not to be criticizing myself and to be analyzing somebody else's performance, it's not something that like I'm scared to do. I think I'm quite confident of doing it. I try and be respectful as I can to all fighters, which I think they appreciate, and most of all for the fans. Like I think they appreciate that I'm like respectfully honest. So yeah, that's you're just saying what you see, and how hard can that be? And someone who's been involved in the sport for a long time, you're just being honest.
Well, it's good that you enjoy that side of it as well. And like you said, after boxing, I know you just said you're on the almost tail end, but I'm sure you've got a few big fights left in you. But it's a good avenue for after boxing. Want to get into Taylor versus Serrano? I think it was almost like a huge moment for women's boxing. We saw Madison Square Garden get sold out, and it was one of them where it was just good for boxing. not just for women's boxing. It was one of them fights. What did you make of that event? Someone who shared the ring with obviously Katie and things like that. And I'm sure you'd love to run that back at some point. But
not off. As a production, as a spectacle, you know, it was monumental for everybody. You know, them kind of, I think the attitude and the thing of, oh, you know, women don't sell, women aren't entertaining, women, they're like kind of like it's slowly like it's kind of dying, that attitude and that way of thinking. And you know, that for promoters, for you know, platforms to be able to see how popular women's fight can be when they are fully supported by promoters and by, you know, everybody in the media, and pushed positively, that like at its peak we are just as good as the men, and it is just as entertaining. As the fight goes, I couldn't have argued either way. If you would have given it to Serrano, I wouldn't have argued. If you obviously Katie got the decision, so you wouldn't have argued. You know, there's, you know, I don't know if it's robberies. It's just like a word that just gets thrown about when people don't agree with the decision. But I think robbery is a very strong word.
Especially when it's around either way, sort of thing.
Yeah, but then I suppose what maybe some arguments are that there was a potential for Serrano to have a 10-8 round in round 5, I think it was. So then that changes some things.
Yes.
That changes the score. So, you know, it was one of them. I started to count, and then I lost count. Like, I think round 5 just threw me off. And then after that, and now it went, I just stopped counting. So I couldn't even tell you what I scored, but I just remember thinking at the end, like, anyone could have got that. So, like, I didn't, you know, whoever got it. So, because it was that close, I don't think anyone knew. I don't even think they knew, and was confident that, and that's why we had such a good round 10.
Yeah, it was a great fight. I think I think that might get run back. I think Eddie was talking about doing it in Ireland for Katie. But you mentioned there, before, depending on what happens, are you wanting to run that back, aren't you? I would imagine you had a really close fight with Katie last time out with her, and I'm sure you'll be looking at that thinking, you know, bring it on, let's jump back in. Is that something you'd like to do one more time, just, you know, before you mention about, you know, ending your career?
100%. Like, you're talking, these aren't like just, these are like, Katie is a legend within the sport, and these are legacy fights. It's not just, you know, it's not just anybody. So if you got the opportunity to be with her again, why wouldn't you? Like, you'd be stupid not to. And I am in boxing for them nights. You know, that's why I came back. That's why I got back. That's why, you know, I got the world title. It's to open doors, to maybe get yourself in the mandatory positions to be able to do that. That was the whole point. And if we don't want to be, I know there's probably a queue of people. I think, you know, there's been talks of Harper, there've been talks of McCaskill rematches, there's been talks of Camden, and yeah, there's lots of people that are queuing up for the Katie fight. For me, it's not a money thing. Like, my last 2 fights have been more than I got for the Taylor fight in the first place. So for me, it's like a legacy thing, and to be able to get some revenge.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great fight that first time. I 100% would love to see that again. Final things, I know I've kept you quite a bit. I want to get your opinion. What have you done to upset Clarissa Shields? I'm going through Twitter, and normally you're quite coy with replies, and I was like, yeah, it's about Savannah. Yeah. Then I saw Clarissa reply, and I was like, oh shit, what's going on? Talk me through it. What actually happened? I was like,
right, what happened? Yeah, this is the be all and end all. Sav put a post on saying, happy 10-year anniversary, babe. And it's obviously Sav's hands getting raised in the World Championships in 2012, and Clarissa's, you know, lost. So Nick Pete, it was, I blame Nick. Nick Pete had put, that's fight talk. So I commented on Nick Pete saying, Savs woke up on a Saturday morning and chose violence. So then, you know, I missed half because I think I was going to the Ultimate Boxer event.
Yeah.
So I've missed it, and then I've looked back on Twitter, like as I'm like in between. I think it was half time at the match, the Liverpool match, because the Liverpool match was on as well.
Yeah.
And I've looked, and I had like 40 messages on Twitter, and I thought, oh God, what happened here? Because you know on Twitter, like, you know, one or two people, maybe five, if you haven't been on for a long time, will comment. But to have like 40 odd messages, I thought, oh God, what have I done? What have I said? So as I scrolled back, I seen so I can't remember the actual tweet. It was something like, it was, so she tagged me in a picture of her with it in 2012 or 2016 with 2 medals, saying, I've achieved more than both of you of you ever have. You need to tread carefully before I come back down and whoop you or whatever. So I've messaged back saying, you want to come back down to 154? She said, oh, Sav said she's got problems with her hand. If you want me to come back down to 154 and whoop you as well, you're on the list. So I put back, oh, I said, if you want to come back to 154, don't think I'm scared. Yeah, like, I'm not scared of anyone. Just out of curiosity, who's on this list? And then like other people had started putting in by that time. And then yeah, she just lost it. I don't know. That's literally all I said. I don't know.
Yeah, I found it amusing. I just thought, holy shit, that wasn't even.
She's a bit touchy over nothing sometimes. Like, if Sav, all Sav ever has to say is one thing, and she just flies off the handle because she just can't handle it. But like, you know, I thought it was quite funny, and I didn't actually see what I'd said that was bad. Like, I just don't think Americans kind of get wit and humor, or wit and sarcasm. I don't think they kind of get that.
Yeah, I think British humour and obviously humour in the US, you can completely cross your wires sometimes. But yeah. What do you make of that fight anyway? Because that's a fight that looks like it's going to get made hopefully sooner rather than later. I think it's a great fight to make.
Oh yeah, when we're talking about, you know, the Taylor Serrano, and this is not me being, you know, a boxer,
No.
But for me, because, you know, Sav was my teammate. I've known Sav since she was 15. You know, I've trained alongside her for I think 4 years in England, 5 years in GB. We've known each other a long time. That's like one of my close boxing friends. For me, that's a bigger fight, and because I'm invested in it.
Yeah.
Honestly, how I see it is potentially Clarissa could be winning, as in, like, you know, she is fast, she's explosive, she hasn't got a concussive shot, but she's strong.
Mm-hmm.
And she could potentially be winning the rounds because of that. But eventually Sav is going to land, and when Sav does land, not many people get back up. Like I say, I've trained with her, I've sparred with her, and she is the hardest female I've ever been hit by a million miles. There's no one that's come even close. And I just think, you know, the 10-ounce gloves, no head guards, like, and people say, yeah, Clarissa's, you know, opponents have been better and whatever, have been of a higher caliber, but there's very few, if any, that she's stopped. Now, Sav doesn't stop people, Sav knocks them out.
Yeah.
So, you know, in a 10-round fight, she's gonna land at some point. And I just don't know if, you know, Clarissa could withstand that. And I think it's hard. Like I said, Sav only has to put out one thing, and Clarissa bites. And, you know, we've caught a big one. They're like, oh, she's wilded in. She's got her. And when you're that emotional, it can be hard to control. And in boxing, you have to react emotionless, because you need to keep your head and be smart. And I don't know if she can, like Clarissa can do that.
It's going to be interesting. I hope it gets made for this year. I know there were talks about can't remember if they said something to do with hand surgery or something to do with surgery or sign.
I think that only pushes it back a few weeks. I think it is scheduled, or there's talks about it being in the summer, whether that's it late summer or whatever. But there is talks about it being in the summer.
Let's just get that one made. Great
With
fight.
the inside booth.
Good build up as well.
Yeah, you know that's going to be fireworks. You know, I might not even come just in case I get in the middle.
Blamed you for it.
Yeah, well, I was like, I'll have that Balotelli shirt. Why always me?
Absolutely. Coming on to the football, you think we're going to do it? We're going to get the quad, or is it Premier League gone?
Oh, do you know what?
Killing me watching it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting.
It kills. Like I literally, it's hard to like. I'm enjoying it, but it's hard to enjoy because you're just like, especially like the last 2 times we've gone behind. I'm just like, oh, come on, and then. Literally, I was supposed. I shouldn't really say this, but I was supposed to be at the boxer event, at the Ultimate Boxer.
You wanted me to come? Oh no.
No, it's all right. You know anyway now. So they like saying, where are you? Like, what time you're arriving? I'm like, yeah, I'm just coming, just wait, I'm just waiting. And then like, so then the messaging the driver that was supposed to take me, where are you? Me and the driver are sitting in the bar watching it. Like, yeah. He's saying, I'm just waiting for Tasha. She's just run back upstairs. So they messaging me saying he's waiting downstairs for you. I said, yeah, I just had to come up. I just forgot something. And then 10 minutes later, where are you? Oh, you know. He's just had to go around the corner because he had to get something, and I can't find him. I think he went back to Kattar, but I don't know where it is. He said he'd be back, and like we were just doing that, and then eventually, obviously, we ended up at the event. It was a good event actually as well.
Yeah, well, at least you made it. But yeah, this weekend's going to be hard. I hope if City win it, they just get it done in the first 5 minutes and like 3 goals, so I don't have to. Because I don't want to wait like 80 minutes and it'd be 0-0 because it's just going to be like.
It's agony, isn't it?
I can't deal with it.
Yeah, I can't, and it like, and now no. Do you remember a couple when Leicester won the league?
Oh,
and there was staff who'd put a bet on, like a big bet on them to win the league.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, and he couldn't. He said he couldn't enjoy it. So in the end, he just cashed out because he couldn't enjoy it while he was still waiting. So he did just cash out like a couple of games before because he didn't enjoy it. And I get what he means now because it's hard to enjoy. And like we've had so much success and so much to look forward to. But this is agony. It's agony.
Yeah, I think not every other year. I always say like Champions League for me is priority because it's the best team in Europe. But I just think while we're one behind Man United, while they're terrible now, it'd be nice to get level. It would be nice because I fancy his chances against Real Madrid, but I just praying that Coutinho for Villa does something.
It's Gerrard and Coutinho. I'm like, come on, lads, come on. Imagine. I think they'd build a statue of Steve Gerrard if they did.
I think it'd actually help him maybe erase some bad memories of obviously that year when we nearly won it and he had that. So he might feel maybe a bit more vindicated in his own mind because that's, oh God, it's going to be a big weekend.
What a time to be a Red though. Like,
yeah,
what a time.
It's mad, isn't it? Waited years for this. Absolutely.
Like literally since ever.
Well, hopefully it continues. Look, thanks for giving me some of your time this evening. Appreciate it. It's been good catching up. And thanks for speaking to Into Boxing. Thank you. Thanks for being positive. Thanks for always keeping your eye in, and thanks for letting me be on. No worries. Appreciate it.